Men of Reddit, what instantly turned you off a woman? My second date with this one girl was going to a Christmas party of mutual friend. After we were there for a little while, she started talking to this other guy and they went to some corner where no one else could interrupt them and talked for an hour. When they were done talking, she immediately told me she was leaving and up and bounced. Totally turned me off, so I didn't talk to her again for a while. A month later she reached out and was like, "Why haven't you called me?" I was kind of dumbfounded that she would actually ask. I didn't have anything else going on at the time, so I figured we could try again, but the Christmas party left such a bad taste in my mouth I couldn't even feign interest. Seeing her treat her parents like doormats. Testing your commitment. Especially if they want to see if you'd fight for me. Saying how my major isn't manly enough, I'm in nursing school BTW, and love it. When she thought the appropriate response to me saying something she didn't agree with was a slap across the face. She had gotten into a fight with her friend because of something she was completely in the wrong about. I made the mistake of calling her out on it. Told her friend in public that my mom was stupid and made fun of her for 20 minutes. She didn't know my mother's friend was sitting next to her in the restaurant and heard the whole thing. We were in college and in a different town, which made the whole experience for her that much more unfortunate. I was done, particularly because my mom was nothing but the kindest person to her and made every effort to make her feel welcome when she visited. I had a girlfriend recently, only lasted about 7 months, and this is one of the reasons I, in the end, couldn't stand her. Every time she talked about something, and I thought she finished speaking, and I started to speak, she continued speaking, but in slightly asterisk louder tone, as if I rudely interrupted her. And if I happened to do it again, she just went from loud to louder. Her speaking pattern was filled with pauses, so it was very easy to mistake one of those pauses for a finished sentence. My cat and her dog didn't get along. She said I'd have to choose between her and her dog or the cat. I picked cat. She cried. It was a second date. Bye bye. Not being able to stay off your phone. I'm on a date to talk to you, not watch you track your followers. Instant clinginess. We went out, had a great date and some light fun at her place. She called me the next day while I was out with a friend. I didn't answer. She then called me over and over again until I finally answered. We are talking about 10 to 15 calls in a row, and when I answered I asked if anything was wrong. Since she kept calling, she said no and said she just hates texting and prefers talking on the phone. I had to calmly explain to her I was out with a friend, and if I don't answer, I will call you back, but calling me over and over makes me think it's an emergency. We tried one more date, but at that point it was awkward and I was no longer invested. Also had one girl text me over 130 times in one day after one date. It was worse because we worked at the same place, albeit different departments. It surprised me in both cases. I thought they were out of my league. Breaking up with me. I'm sorry, but if you dump me, that's it. Relationship over. Had a girl I dated, and we were pretty into each other. One day she got extremely upset with me for saying something pretty innocuous because it reminded her of something from her past. I said I'd remember not to bring that up in the future and apologized, though that didn't seem to suffice. It appeared I was to be punished or treated poorly for it. I asked if I could get a pass on this as there was no way I could have known what I said would have bothered her, but no. I asked her if there was anything else that really set her off like this, and she said yes, though I'd have to find out on my own. I asked if there was anything I could do in the future to avoid upsetting her or causing one of these situations, and again she angrily said no. I was getting a little perturbed by this point and asked if she was really blaming me for saying something harmless that I had absolutely no idea would set her off that way, and she said yes. So I tried to reason with her one last time. So you're telling me that there is a minefield out there? That you know where all the mines are, but refuse to tell me? and that if I step on one of these and it goes off it is my fault and I should be punished as a result. Indeed she did. We were supposed to go out for supper, but I told her I wasn't hungry, got in my car and went home. If you're going to create the path and conditions of failure for our relationship, you can trust that I will find the shortcut every time. I have an accent. So anyone who is way too into that gets the boot pretty quickly. I once walked out on a date because she spent 30 minutes trying to impersonate me and couldn't understand why I didn't think it was endearing. She told me she was going after her ex for a certain amount of money that on its own was not the problem. The money she wanted was the $500 in shared living expenses she contributed over the 7 years they were together. She wanted every penny back. She thought that as long as they stayed together, then the contribution made sense, but if they broke up, then she got to live for free, retroactively. Food, mortgage, utilities, all of it. So she was contributing maybe 25% of the overall living expenses, but because he made 80k/year and she made 40k/year she shouldn't have to pay a single dime of those shared living expenses over the years they were together, unless of course they stayed together. If she had done some calculation to figure out how much of that $500 went toward the principal on the mortgage and wanted that back, I'd have agreed 100%. But no. She expected her man to pay 100% for all share living expenses. I had been dating her for a couple of weeks and broke it off a week or so later. Edit. Sorry guys, that's $500 per month over 7 years. So she wanted $500 x 12 x 7 equals $42,000. Sense of entitlement and wanting me to be something I wasn't. She always had to have her way and I basically couldn't have a different opinion without getting in trouble. When they complain about me being friends with other girls. Yay, like I'm gonna cut out every woman in my life just because you're too insecure with yourself. We literally met each other 2 days ago and I wouldn't text her while I was at work the following day, so she had a meltdown and her mom started texting me asking what I did wrong. Didn't even know this girl at all. Edit. I was 19 at the time and this girl was 18. I work with her at a retail store. Anyways she messaged me on a Monday mornings like 7. We started talking and whatnot and she FaceTimed me out of nowhere, so we feed for an hour or so then I had to go to work. Later that day she came and sat with me on my lunch break and the vibe was off. I didn't really feel a connection, so I just was being more of a friend. The next day a coworker comes up to me and says, so I hear you and are talking? I said I don't even know her last name. Coworker starts laughing. The girl texted me later that night and says, so I guess this means we are talking, since coworker knows our day. I don't even know your last name and that set her off apparently cause 5 minutes later she replies, but it's her mom asking what I did wrong, because the girl is having a meltdown. I met her Monday morning, and by Tuesday evening I blocked contact. Desperation. It's a common internet meme for men to be desperate and scare women away. Let me tell you, it happens the other way as well. I met a girl online who was pretty, had a good job, kind, generous, and was overall a solid catch. The problem she had was that she was way too desperate to find a partner. I'm not even saying she was the kind of girl who had the relationship mapped out in stages, that is date 8 months, married in 16 months, kids by 24 months. Those girls exist too. But this girl was just desperate for a partner. She was pursuing the idea of coming home to her partner, cooking him dinner, making him lunch, sitting on the couch in sweats eating popcorn. Basically, she was in love with the idea of being in love. All those things are great goals for a relationship that you can aspire to over time. Not so much something to pursue or dream of on the first or second date. Entitlement. As in, I deserve special treatment every day of my life cause I'm so beautiful. Makes me want to bath, no matter how pretty they are. Laziness. Work 2 bullshit jobs so ends can meet, and she stays home reading fan fiction for Supernatural and Twilight crossovers all day. No chores, no cooking, cleaning, just fan fiction and trash producing. Kinda killed my interest fast. TLDR, girl talks about herself constantly. I was talking to this girl I met on Tinder for about a few weeks or so. Our conversations were typically one-sided. I would just ask her questions about her, get to know her a little bit. Our conversations would usually spark from there. But after a couple weeks, I realized she didn't know a thing about me because she never asked. Like what my major is in school, why I pursued that degree, what my brother's name is, trivial stuff. I then told her I forgot my suit at the dry cleaners one day and had to wait until the next week to pick it up. I told her it was for an interview. Instead of saying something like, oh, what's your interview for? What company? You know, usual curious questions. I had mentioned it was for an interview quite a few times, just like entice her to ask me about it. But then she proceeded to tell me a long ass story about how she forgot some shit at some store and had to drive back there to get it. I really got annoyed and just left her alone. She always made things about herself.